Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to try to fix this paper shredder here. So this is actually my own paper shredder. I've probably had it for about 10 years now, but it gets used very little. I think in the whole time I've had it. Would it have been used for an hour in total? Probably not. It comes out maybe 2 or 3 times a year to shred some documents, and that's it. It's had very little use. But I remember the last time I used it, and in particular yesterday, it's been playing up. But yesterday it actually stopped doing its intended use. So what should happen is, when it's plugged in like it is now, there's no kind of on and off switch apart from on and auto. So when it's on here, it should only work when you put paper in. It must sense that the paper's in, it drags it through, and it should shut off again. The problem is this is not shutting off. Sometimes I can fix it by going to forward, reverse, then back to here, then it will shut off. But yesterday what was happening was I must have had about 20 or 30 bits to shred, and then I'd put them in, and then after maybe the second or third bit of paper it wasn't shutting off. So then I had to keep unplugging it from the actual power point, which is annoying because then you've got to plug it back in again. It's just a bit of a pain. And then what happened is it overheated, so then I couldn't use it at all until it cooled down again and reset whatever was, you know, whatever safety devices on the inside of it. And yeah, then it allowed me to shred again. So let's see if it's going to do it now. So this wasn't an expensive one, and as you can see it's rated for, it says short time operation 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but I don't think I had it working constantly for 2 minutes and 30 seconds yesterday. So I'm thinking what it is possibly a build-up of paper dust. It looks like there's holes here, but yesterday the heat seemed to be coming from here. You know, when it overheated, it seemed to be from this area here. But let's see if I can mimic it now. It will probably work perfectly now that I'm filming. But I've just got some bits of paper here, so let's see. These are used bits of paper. Right, so it should shut off now. Okay, well it did shut off there, but it didn't sound good at the very end. Let's try another one. See what I mean? It's going on. Let's pull the bits out. So all the bits are out now and it's still working. Okay, it's stopped now. Doesn't seem right. And if you have a look in there, it's not exactly filthy. Do you know what I mean? It's not exactly as if it's completely clogged up. So I think it's a build-up of paper dust in there. Let's do another bit. In fact, let's do this into 2 bits. I don't like the way it does that at the end. It's like it's struggling. Yeah, to me that's not right. So let's hold it up higher now to make sure the paper can drop all the way through it. See what I mean? Yeah, that doesn't sound right there. That's struggling. That's struggling at the end. Let's take it apart and let's see if we can find out what's wrong with it. I'm thinking build up of dust, but I don't really know. Let's get it over to the blue mat. Right, so obviously it is unplugged from the mains. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws to undo, and then I'm thinking it will just come apart and that will allow me to clean it. So it's obviously a problem with the sensors. Slightly worried now why it overheated yesterday and also why it was making that straining noise. What I'm hoping is that that's just related to a build-up. But this hasn't had a huge amount of use, but maybe they're really prone, or maybe some paper that I've been using, because a lot of the paper that I do get is very cheap thin paper. In fact, you know, the cheapest ones you get, where you get 500 sheets for like $2.99 or $4.99 or whatever it is. So would that paper be more fibrous than maybe the thicker paper? I don't know. I would have thought it would have been less, but maybe it's more. Definitely see some sticky residue down here. There's like some black staining. So although it hasn't had much use, I have had it for years, and it has just been stored under the stairs, so things might have spilt on it throughout the years. Right, here we go. Wow. Oh. Is that supposed to just fall out like that? Do you know what? It smells, actually smells of burning. Wow. Okay, well, there is a serious amount of build-up around here, around the gears, and it's absolutely everywhere. I'm just trying to see where the sensors are. So obviously this is the sensor here, so this is the thing which is faulty. Let's zoom in a bit. I wasn't expecting so much dirt, and also look here. Do you know what's happened? Ah, it's the gears. So what's happening is this grease here is, sorry, this sticky stuff isn't something that's been spilt in it. This is grease that's kicked up from the gears, and then the fibres and stuff have stuck to the grease. But saying that the sensor for the paper doesn't appear to be over this side, it appears to be here. And as well as that, when I was putting the paper in it earlier, it wouldn't automatically drag it in if it was on the side. You had to put it in like the middle section. Oh, okay, so they're not actually that sharp. They're more just kind of like, you know when you open a tin can and you have the kind of, the serrations on it? That's what that feels like. They're not actually very, very sharp. Looks like we've got the remains of the something or other there. Even a little staple here as well. Naughty, naughty. Right, okay, let's take it apart a bit further. I want to see how this sensors work in here. Oh, look at this. This is going to come out, isn't it? There we go. I've got to make sure I know which way these go in. Didn't think it'd be quite so dirty. So this is the sensor here. Oh, look, it's just a micro switch. Look here. That's just a tiny little micro switch just there. And when the paper goes in, this goes down and just touches the micro switch to tell it to turn on. So that's interesting why it's running on, because I would have said that this switch area actually looks quite clean. Look, can you see in here, when this gets pushed down, it just hits this little switch here. Mind you, it doesn't spring. That doesn't spring back very nice. Could that be it? That it's not springing? Surely that would need to spring back, or is it just relying on gravity? Let's take out this little clip. I know it's not going to allow me to take that out unless I dismantle it completely. But that switch can be cleaned with IPA. Let me see if I can take it out from the other side. I'm just going to get a kitchen towel to wipe my hands. Quite like to just pop this switch out so I can give it a good clean. There we go. Right, so this is it here. Right, so I suppose this isn't exactly on a very highly, it's not highly sprung, is it? Yes, it comes back out, but is that really going to have enough force to move this back out again? So I suppose this is probably just really relying on gravity to fall back into place. So, I mean, it does look particularly clean in this area, but that's the only thing that I can see. This, you know, this is the thing that makes it, that tells it that paper's in here or not. So I'm wondering if there was just a slight build-up. Maybe if I could put a tiny bit of grease just around this little axle here. Actually, no, grease would be a bad thing because there's not going to be wear on this. We need it to be really, really free. And if I put grease on, it's going to just then get clogged up with paper dust. And that's not going to fall down. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's just not really the best design, because you can see it is moving freely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean it out completely and then put it back together. Might put some fresh grease on the gears over this side here. I can't really see what else I can do with it. So let's just give it a real good clean. Wondering, the straining you hear towards the ends, I'm wondering if it's because the gears have thick grease on them and then the paper gets caught in each of the teeth, in which case then they're going to be, it's kind of compacting down. So if you look here now, like if I was to get the thing, can you see there, look there, that coming out there is just like hard paper. So if that's on every single one of the gears, they are going to cause, they are going to be harder to twist, aren't they? Because there's more friction, because they're still bolted on here, so they're not going anywhere. It's just going to be much harder to turn when there's rock hard paper, because all the papers just keep sticking to all the grease. So that's not going to help it, is it? That's not why it's not cutting off. But with that straining, I wonder if this is why it's overheating. So although you need grease on it to make it last longer, at the same time it's like the grease is making it fail. So do you know what? I'm not going to add more grease to this. Because I'm thinking they're not exactly spinning around at thousands of revolutions a minute, are they? I'm going to put that back together and see what it's like now. It's certainly cleaner. It's not perfect. And like I mentioned, I'm not going to add grease to it. And we'll see if that helps. If anything, I think it was this side here that was more clogged up rather than this side. And I'm looking at it here now and I'm wondering, so we've got two 40 volts AC going into it. Let's just undo this here. I wonder if this is a if this is like an AC motor. Even this is covered in dust here as well. Right, so we've just got two there. Where do they go off to then? So you go off to the switch. The switch comes back to the motor. Right, well, on my limited knowledge, I can't see any bridge rectifier or anything, unless, what are these here? Are these capacitors? Or are these some, because I know you can get, like diodes, is it 4 diodes together will make a bridge rectifier. This is one underneath it, but they look like, they don't look like diodes, do they? I'm wondering if this is just all AC then. It's incredibly hard to turn, but I can't turn that whatsoever. So there must be like huge torque there, but it doesn't spin fast. I think we'll just pop it back together and see what it does. Just going to get a bit of sticky tape and stick this label back in somewhere. Actually, I forgot to put IPA in the switch, didn't I? I'm just going to drop some isopropyl alcohol down there, just in case it is dusty on the inside. don't think I need to clean this switch here because there was definitely no hesitation when I was moving this switch. I think that switch itself is okay. Again, it would be good practice to grease in here because there definitely has been evidence of grease in here. These are like little connectors to keep the middle, I suppose, nice and tight so it doesn't wander off, doesn't widen. But again, if I do that, they're just going to congeal with paper dust, which again is just going to cause a build-up and stuff, which will cause friction and also might shove it down to the switch again. So I think in this instance, I'm not going to put grease there either. Right, so that's all back together, and as you can see, it's cleaner. It's not perfect, but you can see all the mess here that's come out of it. Little clips here as well that clip into place, so it's not just the screws, these clip in as well. Right, I just need to do up the 6 screws, then we'll test it. Let's plug it in and see what it does. Do I think it's going to work? Yes. Do I think the problem's going to happen again? Yes, definitely. Here goes. I'm sure it wasn't like that before, you know. To be fair though, it is cutting off, and it wasn't cutting off yesterday. But earlier on when we did it, it did cut off, but not every time. I think the thing that I'm not sure about is it sounds as if it would keep on going, but it's meeting resistance. I was sure that as soon as that switch would work, that it would just cut the power. So let's try it up here. Let's do it this way. I'm not so sure, you know. I'm just going to get a little screwdriver. Don't copy what I do at home. I'm just going to tap that little sensor in there. Obviously, I'm not making sure my screwdriver goes anywhere near the metal cutting wheels, discs. I just want to see whether it works when I push that in and out, in case that switch has gone faulty. Alright, let's see now. So these two are fixed, it's this one here. He's still trying now. Right, so is it on some sort of time thing where when you hit it, it goes on for a certain amount of time? Because every time you put more and more paper in, it will reactivate it again, won't it? I'm going to let it nearly go off, and then I'm going to tap it again, see if it kicks in again. Then we'll know whether it's the motor straining or not. Not turning off this time, is it? But it definitely goes quicker when you hit that button down. Yeah, but when I hit the switch over here, it stops. That's not right. I'm almost certain that that's not right. Okay, hold on now. It's not working at all now. Look, it's not doing anything now. Let's get another bit of paper. No, look. So it's not working now. Yes, it hasn't overheated. So I think by holding down that switch for that amount of time must have maybe burnt something out, but I think it was already on its way out. Right, let's take it apart again, and now let's do a continuity stuff and stuff on the switch and see. I wonder, could it be something to do with those capacitors? Because there's not really much to this, is it? It was just like 2 capacitors, a switch, this main switch here, and what looks like an AC motor. And there was also that yellow wider thing, which I think is that some sort of capacitor again, maybe to stop noise going back onto the way it came in? I don't know, from the motor. Right, well you can see it's definitely not working. I'm going to unplug it and plug it in again. But that was different than yesterday, because yesterday when it overheated, it didn't do these ones. No, it's definitely not working. Right, I'm happy now because I wasn't happy with how it was performing there anyway. So let's take it apart yet again. Before I take it apart again, things that I'm unsure of. Does it have a run on? So once that switch is activated, as soon as you stop activating that switch, should it be dead completely or does it run on? The reason I'm thinking, imagine if you put in a paper at a bit of an angle and then the paper's gone onto here, but then those bits have been shredded. Or let's say if the paper was uneven, you know, let's say if the paper was low here and then went up here like a ripped bit of paper. Those bits would go through, no longer contact the switch, and these bits would just be stuck here. So that's one thing I'm not sure of, whether after the switch has been activated, should it run on for example, 10 seconds. The other thing I'm unsure about is what is it in here that has the protection to turn it off once it gets overloaded? Because yesterday, 100%, this thing got hot and then it stopped working. And then just like a hairdryer, when you leave it for half an hour or whatever, it starts, I mean, I didn't time it how long it was left for, but later on that evening, it was working again. So it says to me that there's some safety cutoff in here. Again, I didn't see anything that looked like a safety cutoff to do with heat. So that's 2 things I'm unsure about at the moment. So let's take this apart. Now remember, this is unplugged again. So I'm just going to fast forward through this now until it's all apart. This motor here is very warm. Very warm. So I wonder whether the safety cutout thing has stopped working on auto for some reason, but not on forward and reverse, which is strange. And yesterday it wasn't working on anything. I don't know why it would work on one and not the other, but this is definitely warm. I'm wondering if there's different cut-offs for different switches. I wonder, does each switch have its own cut-off? Could that be what these blue things are for? Do you know what? I'm going to look up what they say, because it says JY472M. These ones here. I'm going to look that up, see exactly what they are. To me it just looks like a capacitor. Yeah, these are just ceramic disc capacitors. And it says here, these ceramic disc capacitors are specifically designed for AC applications and meet the safety requirements of various safety standards agencies. These capacitors are ideal for across the line and line bypass applications. To be honest, I don't know what that means. Ideal for across the line applications. Okay, but I don't think I can't see that being an issue in this case here. Let's go measure this actual switch, see if we're getting continuity when that button is pressed. Having a closer look here, I recognise these from the Jacob Jensen alarm clock that I thought was was a light, and this time around I thought it was a capacitor. But I was told that if it's got like a black heat shrink on it, I think the last one had a yellow, can't remember, yellow heat shrink, but it's an inductor, and if you have a look, it says L1 and L2. You won't be able, well, you'd see it if I was zooming in, but this one says L2, this one says L1. So they're going to be inductors. So I wonder now, do they store, I think they work similar. I think they can work similar to a capacitor. I need to double check that now. I'm wondering if they store a little bit of energy to keep the switch on for a few seconds after it's been turned off. Not sure. Anyway, let's check this switch out here. This should be nice and easy to check using continuity. I'm hoping to find that this switch is not working, because otherwise I think it's going to be a bit complicated. Right, so I've got continuity here, so let's go one probe on this one here, and one probe here. Right, okay, so listen, that's completely responsive. Let's just do it gently. Yeah. Definitely nothing wrong with that switch. Okay, so if there's nothing wrong with that, could there be something wrong with this switch here? I suppose it is a possibility. In fact, look, if you look in here, there is paper and stuff caught in here. Look, can you see in here? So I'll have to get some tweezers and get that paper out. Can we caught this side? No, not on that side. Yeah, let's get some tweezers and get that out. Again, I don't think that's caused the problem though. Oh, looks pretty good, doesn't it? Right, so let's zoom out and let's see if we can trace what the wires do. So we've got a white wire here which goes to this prong here, and this wire goes to this prong. So when it's on there, that's the same as kind of doing the forward one, isn't it? So that's the same as the switch being in that position. So pressing this is the same as the switch being in that position there. So basically when we do that, it's livening up this one here, which goes off to, it's so hard to see because they're all white wires. Where does that one go to? No, so they're not shorting across the width. Right, so that's simple enough. So when you move the switch along, all it's doing is connecting up. When it's over this side, it's connecting this one to here, and this one to here. When it's in the middle, that one to there, that one to there. And when it's over this edge, that one to there, and that one to there. So now, when the switch is pressed, it's connecting up this one and that one together. This one and the first one together, which is the same as these two being on. So then from there, that goes to there, okay. Okay, so they're connecting up to the end ones here. So basically, look, when it's off in this side here, this is off until the paper comes in and touches this, which is exactly the same as the switch being in the middle here. So when the middle is here, it's basically connecting it in forward motion. I think it was in the middle, is forward, so it drags the paper in. And then when we go to here, it puts it into reverse. So why when I put it to there, does it put it into reverse? If I'm honest with you, I don't fully understand how it goes into reverse when we're on this one here as opposed to that one. I'm wondering if it's because the wires from here go from here to this side and that side to that side. So maybe when it's here, it's crossing them over, but then when it's here, it's just going straight down the red and the black without crossing them over. Mind you, hold on, no, that's wrong, isn't it? Because on an AC motor, if this is AC, on an AC motor, it doesn't matter which way round the wires go, it will always turn the same way. So I'm not too sure how it gets put into reverse. That's going to be one for the comments. I don't know. Because I thought with an AC motor, it doesn't matter which way you have the power around. It's going to be, you know, DC, like positive, negative, it will go one way. And then if you put the positive this side, negative that side, it will spin the other way. On AC, because it's alternating, it doesn't matter which way you have the wires around. It will always spin the same way. So I don't know how it gets put into reverse. Obviously it does, but I don't know. That's going to have to be one for the comments. Anyway, look, the switch is okay, and this switch here is okay. So now, I suppose let's see if there's any difference between these two inductors. Okay, so 1.7 ohms. Open. Swap this one round. Yeah, 1.6 ohms, and now this should be open. Ah, no. Okay. Right, so this is reading both way rounds. 1.6. 1.6. 1.6. Oh, it is reading. 1.6. Okay, so they're reading the same. And this is going across the line. This is straight on the line coming in. So this is definitely, I've seen that on the hairdryer, and I believe that is to stop like noise from the motor going back onto the wire, onto your house wiring, I believe. So, I mean, that has to be working, doesn't it? Because otherwise, if that was, well, mind you, that's not gonna, even if that was blown, that's not gonna make it run on, is it? Is that gonna make it run on? No, because this is all just then through here. Let's get a measurement on this resistor. 193 ohms. Annoyingly, I think it was to do with overheating again. Right, so that was in that position there. So in theory, if I was to turn it on now and just use an insulated screwdriver just to tap this, keep my hands well clear of everything, then when I did that before, it wasn't working. But now that it's cooled down, I bet you now it would start working. So I'm going to plug this in. Again, like I keep saying, don't copy what you see in this video at home. I'm keeping my hands well clear. If I was to put my hands here, I would be electrocuted. There's going to be 240 volts running through here. I'm only going to be tapping that switch. Right, so it's plugged in. Right, hopefully that's going to be safe to do. Keeping well away. Got an insulated screwdriver. There. Okay. That's good. Can you see it's just working just when I tap it? Which is what you want. I'm not going to do it anymore because you can see it's chewing itself up. So I'm going to unplug it now. Right, so it's unplugged. Oh yeah, look at that, it's all chewed itself up now. So what I'm going to have to do is, I'm not going to have the strength to move that back. I'm going to have to put it into reverse, and I'm going to have to plug it in, but keep well away, and I'm just going to have to plug it in and unplug it again after 1 second. Hopefully that will lined up. It shows you the power in there, doesn't it? It's unplugged again. Is that going to go back together or not? Not really. It's still out. So I'm going to have to tap that switch again to make it go in the normal direction. I think I went too far back. I'm just going to tap it again. And unplug it. Right, well, the switch is definitely working now every time I tap it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some IPA. The only thing I've done different is take out a little bit soft paper in here, but I don't think it's that. Unless this just needed me to sort of take it out, maybe the IPA's moved a little bit. Who knows, or it could be heat related. Maybe when these things heat up, it starts playing up. But annoyingly, right now when I tapped it, it worked perfectly. So I'm going to put it back together again and see what it does now. I'm just going to clean that switch out a bit. So I'm just going to put IPA and then I'm going to just keep moving it forward and back. But again, I think that this all looks fine. I can't see it being a switch at all. I suppose unless the contacts of the actual bit here, you know, this part that's moving, not the bottom contacts, was dirty, because then I suppose that would stop it connecting from there to there, because you know when we move it to here and move it to here, it's the switch that takes over. But maybe if the contacts were dirty at the bottom, it's not going to make it go from there to there. So I suppose there is a possibility it could be the switch. Give each of the wires a tug on the wire nuts. So basically these are just used to kind of crimp the wires together. So if you haven't seen them, look up something called Wago connectors, W-A-G-O. They are amazing. Like once you start using them, you'll never use any sort of connectors like this again. I know they're expensive, but the Wago connectors, they're German and they're just so nice. So you know, if you ever use chocolate blocks to do things with the screw terminals, well, with a Wago connector, it's maintenance free because it's always under pressure. So with a screw terminal, you know, copper flows, doesn't it? Even though it takes years and years to flow, but eventually, when the screw is on there, eventually that copper will flow away from the point of contact. But with a Wago connector, it's on a spring, so it doesn't matter if the copper's flowing, because look, it will always be under pressure because of the spring. You get them in all different sizes for different applications. They're really good. Right, okay, let's put it back together again, and now let's see if it's behaving any differently. And let's just see if that's going to work. Okay, so that's working. Let's see if this switch is now going to work. Well, it's doing the same as it was before, but saying that, I don't know, maybe that's what those inductors are for, to keep it on for so long. So I'm going to put it properly back together. It's going off again. Right, so thinking about this now, this definitely can't be right. And watch this, I've just put it at an angle, and when it's at an angle, it works perfectly. So we know that this little switch in here doesn't appear to be shutting off properly. But yet, oh, it's going off again. But yet, when we're doing the little white switch on the inside, so let's just call this let's just call it a pusher. I don't know what it's called, but the white switch, definitely when we tapped it, cut off as soon as we release that button, which makes sense, doesn't it? But this pusher is not fully kind of coming back, because you can hear the motors working and it's sort of straining and stuff. But now watch, if I have it at this angle here, so in other words, gravity is now helping it push back. Watch, as soon as I push it in, it goes, and now look, instantly stops, yeah? Which is what it should do. So now, if I was to put a bit of paper through at that angle, I bet it would turn off straight away. So let's try that. Right, so we'll just use half a sheet so I can use the other half later. So let's push it through at this angle now, keeping my hands well away from it. There you go, and it stops, you see. So, and you can still see there's bits in it, yeah, it's still stopped. So I'm now convinced that the problem is just with that little pusher. So let's unplug it and take it apart yet again. And this time let's concentrate on this pusher mechanism and see if there should be like a little, maybe there should be a spring or something on it that's come off throughout the years. Right, so I'm going to be looking at this here now to find out why it's not springing back properly. I mean, is it just purely relying on the spring off the switch? Seems a bit bad if it is. Right, so here it is, and it doesn't look like there's anything broken on it. So maybe this switch is not pushing it back as much as it should do. I wonder if I can open it up and stretch the spring a little bit, or whatever it is, you know, if it's a thing like this. I wonder if I can, you know, push it up more, so it's all, push it down, you know, to give it more springiness. I mean, there is a little spring there, but that looks to be working perfectly. Yeah, there's definitely nothing broken there, is there? I'm just wondering if it's a really bad design relying on this to push this back. So what I would do is, if I was to stretch that spring, it would make it even worse. I'd have to compress it, and I'm not going to be able to compress it. Well, actually, I suppose I could. I suppose I could chop a little bit off, take a few revolutions off, and then create a new hook at the end. And what that will happen is it will make it go, it will push this bit up more. I hope, though, it doesn't detriment this bit going down here, though, because that is a little bit of a strange mechanism there. When you push this down, it's pushing down that one there. And you see, if I do it so it's really tight, I wonder if I push this one down and put a bit of resistance here, what will happen? Yeah, I'm not going to mess with that, look, because you see, if I push that down, if I make the spring tight, and then if it keeps this bit up more, look, even by just resting this here, when I push this down, can you see nothing's happening? It's not clicking. It's not bringing this one down. So I think if I was to tighten that, that would ruin that bit there, and then the switch here wouldn't work at all. So I think that's a bad idea. So I'm going to put this back together. I don't really want to mess with this. I need to think more about this thing here. Even if you have a look now, it hasn't really got the strength to push it back. Alright, watch this. So we go down. Do you know what I mean? It's not going fully... watch this bit here. When I push it in, then pops up. But maybe it's because I haven't got this in. No, look, can you see there? It's caught again. Now watch. There, pushes back out. Right, so it needs to be, I think it needs to be, does it need to be held over more? No, that's just really poor. How am I gonna do this to make this spring back off its own accord? But yet, it needs to be easy enough to go down that the weight of the paper will knock it. That's the problem, I'm 100% sure. Look, see, it's not going back up. It needs to be there. Right, I'm going to have a think about this one. I don't really see that there is a solution right now, because even if I was to hook up some spring to here, then it's going to put a load of resistance on it this way, and the paper is not going to be strong enough to even get down. It'd be different if you were using cardboard, but the thin bit of paper isn't going to be enough to push that down. You can see now, look, I've taken the paper out, it hasn't sprung back. Right now it's just staying on all the time, so I've got my meter on continuity, and if I go between the two probes and look, can you see it's on all the time? So what it is it's like pushing it in too much. I wonder, do I have to try to bend this one out a little bit? Got a feeling I'm going to end up breaking this. Right, so look, it's not doing it right now. Yes, it is. So right now this would be on. Okay, it's not doing it now. But look, it's not releasing, you see? See, now it's released, I have to physically push it. It's keeping it down too much, that needs to go more out, which is not really going to be possible. I suppose I could shave a little bit off it, maybe. Scrape a little bit away. Because if I scrape it from here, then it's going to be, it's going to allow this to come out more. Let me get a knife. Right, let's see if that makes any difference. So you can see I've just taken like I've flattened it off there instead of it being round. So if that gives me an extra fraction of a millimetre, that might be enough. I can hear it clicking now. It's still not springing back, but it's clicking. But it's definitely still not springing back. It's delayed. Right, I can definitely hear that clicking on and off, which I couldn't hear before. Right, let's put this on continuity. Hold on. Excellent. Hey! Thing is though, as soon as that gets any bit of paper dust in it, that's just gonna fail again. Because it's only just barely working now, you see. And this is the same way that gravity would be, upright like this. To be fair though, it is springing back all the time. It's just not instant. Well, I don't think there's much more I can do. See, look, it didn't spring that time. Just make sure that's not fouling against there. Right, so we need it to be more in. So if I need it to be more in, maybe I can bend this a little bit. Well look, right now it's working, but I think personally that it will clog up again. But that's just the way it's been designed, and I can't fix can't fix the way it's been designed. Right, let's get this back together for the final time. All the screws, and I just want to see if this is clicking back. Yes, it is. And you can hear it clicking. Listen. Excellent. Every single time it's clicking. Right, let's close it up fully. Right, let's quickly test it here, and then we'll put a few bits of paper through it. Result. That's the first time it's done that. Excellent. Right, let's get it set up at the bottom bit and let's shred some paper. Right, here we have a mixture of paper, so let's start with a normal A4 bit. Oh, lovely. Now we've got a cover off a magazine. Result. And now we've got some thin pages off the inside of that same magazine. Oh yes, 100% I'm happy with that. Let it come out, back in again, that's fine. So what that means is when it gets too full here, you see, it doesn't go all the way through. There we go. I am well happy with that. That's not going to work now because it's not on the actual trigger, you see. No, you need to be across the trigger. Right, I've got to get another bit of paper in now to jam that down. What a result. So, it took me a long time to work it out, a bit of an embarrassingly long time to work it out, but just a design fault. So it looks like it was all relying on that tiny spring in the switch to push that back out again. And unfortunately, the spring was just too small. It wasn't strong enough because that switch isn't really, I don't think it's probably designed for that. That's just a switch designed to maybe just push itself back out rather than have some, weight on top of it. So just by shaving a little bit off, it allowed the switch to go fully out so it could basically turn itself off. That's all I've done. But it seems, I think that might actually be a successful fix for as long as it's clean. As soon as that gets covered in dust and paper fibres and stuff, that will go faulty again because there's not enough sort of tolerances there. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's not enough room for error, is there? Because we're just talking about a fraction of a millimetre. But at this moment in time, I'm happy because I feel that I've fully proved what that fault is. In fact, I think 100% that was the fault. So yeah, it seems to be working consistently now, while before it wasn't working. And now it makes sense why sometimes when I wobbled it, it came on and off, because what was happening is the switch itself was making and breaking the contact, because it was just any bit of wobble and it would go back into the right position for it to turn off or turn on. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I ended up quite liking that one for quite a boring item. It was quite interesting. Still not sure where the overheat mechanism thing is. If you know that, please add it down to the comments. Also, if you could add down what those little inductors do in this particular circuit. I know inductors do different things in different circuits, but if you know what they do in this instance, again, put it down to the comments because that'd be quite interesting. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care. Bye now.